Hello, everybody, to Dework PBL Workgroup. And today we are going to set up and talk about task distribution for the Markdown files we are going to create. And when we go into this first, I will have like a small intro and then share a bit about the Workspace. I'm not going to show it probably today, but that you kind of get the idea what it looks like, the content we're about to start creating. And then we have like an open discussion about requirements and recommendations. We create the Google form to capture more information asynchronously. And then from also asynchronously, we will be creating Dework tasks to distribute the modules. And if you have any questions, then you know where to find it. It's the process GUI channel in SingularityNet. And I will also be checking the respective community Discord channels for feedback. So when going into, we have first few weeks, we're going to use a localhost to kind of try out the uploading file and looking at internally how all of this onboarding documentation will look like. And then once we have more clear vision of that, we will start, we will go live and start using it and then scale down also the backend of that you can yourself start uploading this onboarding documentation. And also, whatever you're going to see upcoming weeks, you can also know that Gimbalabs is working on architecture automation behind that. And so that the processes we're going to have, we're also going to give feedback how we are like working and what are our issues and what we are working on, and that they can also use to even improve the platform even more. And so it's like everybody's going to benefit from these practices and the lessons we're going to learn through this journey. Our topic for the first like sequence will be Dework PBL models, which means we are basically going to have a bit of onboarding for us, how to use Dework, what tasks we can create, and like in general information, and some also a bit of more skilled information for like activity lists or projects. So it's much easier to have this coherence between treasury guild, strategy guild, and process guild to like manage tasks and distribute the workload between community members in fair manner. And today I prepared also a draft of like a development stages that I assume are going to take place. First, like when we create the PBL module, my estimation it is like 2 hours to spend on draft Markdown files. And in the first week or like 2 weeks, we spend like around 2 hours. Then in 2 weeks, because it's a bi-weekly workshop, we come to this call and we look at what the results we have and asynchronously will upload them. And then we are going to allocate another 3 hours for each PBL model to start refining using that feedback and if it's necessary. And then we're going to have another review call. So it's like a double retrospective to capture most data. And then we also asynchronously finalize. So it's like an asynchronous way to even give feedback of the entire process of creating a model. And also there will be another 2 hours to audit it. And with what we mean about that, it's like an extra internal work to really deep think about what processes we use, the entire process, like introducing this work group and all that kind of goes into it. And that's nice incentives for also those who are very interested to learn and like document insights. And at the end, I think we're gonna also like we have so many ways to like improve that. And my assumption is we want to perhaps improve menus and navigations, because this is going to be like the first module. But then you're going, imagine a lot of different communities going to use these onboarding models and different entities, then how do we connect all of them in a fabric that we all kind of get idea, oh, I need facilitation information, then it's easier from your own menu to find any community worker like with that skill set, or then because we're also in a Cardano ecosystem, kind of find, if you're interested now, like in Bluetooth or some other like information, that how do you navigate from this SingularityNet ecosystem to somebody else's community where they also share skills and try to kind of help people to learn what they want to learn.
So yeah, you're really focused on the building background knowledge part and the contribution process.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, that's so that fits into the PBL framework. And one thing I'm trying to understand, what's the long-term vision for using Dework? Like, are you trying to maintain using that as an end in itself? Or is this something that if we were able to create some tools that deliver the same functionality but are integrated into the rest of this, is that helpful?
Yes, it definitely will be. And that's another reason why I like where this Andamio is positioned as a platform, is that with so far all of this Dework activity we're doing and these operations there, we are more getting locked in to use that tools because we have the experience and we are not able to kind of abstract it away that easily. It just requires a lot of time.
Right.
But my assumption is, like hypothesis, that if we use as like this onboarding method where we document how do we use things, why do we use things, and what does these methods, what are their outputs, and then if we have more of like documented version of that, then it will be easier to switch between tools and platforms. But yeah, at current stage, I find it like harder to just, oh, let's take this tool. And we have tried it. And then before we know Dework, it was always chaos. Now we have that. And if we go anywhere else, it's low participation or chaos. so it's the, I guess, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and what you've described here in terms of the process on what you have as the bottom row there, the PBL development stages, I'm thinking of that as contribution. And this really aligns with the way we're thinking within Andamio about the relationship between individual contributions that need to happen and that we know will happen, and the kind of the human interactions that validate those contributions, if that makes sense.
Yep. And there is that second fund that we have been experiencing, like, and it all started with the Gimbalabs tokenomics, and that's like also fun twist. And then Swarm then was able to orbit the things they do, tokenize it, and now that came kind of a standard. And now it's also actually in SingularityNet now experiencing creating our own tokens. And even though I'm also like, we have a paper trail because every contribution is registered. So, but yeah, that's also like another fun thing about that, which means we have that information to what to build. And now this is like the latest work group for me to now put all the practice into this now.
Yeah. So I love that you brought it back to tokenomics, because this is what we need to define next, is if we say, look, like communities can engage in this process together. And one outcome of this process is that, the collective knowledge is better than what an individual could have done. Right? When we spend time refining docs, for example, in this way, new insights are probably going to emerge. And So yeah, that's, I don't have, like, I don't know what the exact pathway is there yet, but we want to be thinking about that as these different communities that we've got going.
The way you described that emergency or emergent was, it actually, I think it's even explosive in a sense that if there is not one person who is doing it, then like the scale of time, like, okay, it takes to deliver this module in 50 hours, but if there is 20 people wanting that, using that, coming together in like a strategical like onboarding, that they have learned that skill to do that together, then it's like to distribute the time it takes to deliver into like a small set of time, like I don't know, 3 days. And that this mindset of now what can we do together is going to drastically change.
Yeah.
And now a little like watch, you have seen it of course, but the idea of what it will look like, but now as we're recording, then maybe all at once showing it. So when we do get on board, that's the page. This is where we have to now think about how do we network with each other through different communities and trust networks. And then how do we share our onboarding material? And for now, it will be, in this work group, we're going to get Dework PBL, and I'm kind of focusing. I know why I will use Dework. I know what I will try to capture with Dework. And then through this series of workshops, we will be creating explainers of the modules we have on the motherboard. Okay. And which I've also shared before. And for example, if I go to the first overview, then contribution management for decentralized communities should prioritize transparency, fairness, and inclusivity. It should be designed to promote collaboration and innovation while also ensuring that community members are appropriately rewarded for their contributions. First, we should suggest starting with thinking about what to track. This can include engaging with community activities or creating assets like code, reports, documentation, etc. Once there is some understanding of the contributions and community values, think about how your community would like to track contributions. Soon you realize your community is already creating rules and best practices. These rules and best practices are governance mechanics to ensure that the community decisions are made in an inclusive and transparent manner. These mechanics can include voting system, consensus protocols, and decision-making frameworks. When you want to scale your governance operations, you may need to consider building a reputation system to help establish trust and credibility within the community. This includes roles, badges, rating, and endorsements, which we have only, in my experience, only tested the roles, and all that new stuff is like, I don't know, it seems like something to test. Yeah. When creating governance mechanics, they may need to protect the data that is being fed into decisions and out of transactions. Proper guidelines and education to handle information will be necessary to protect community assets and data from theft and hacking. In order to achieve such values and standards, each community will need to find or create a suite of tools for communication and collaboration among community members. This can include all kinds of tools from social apps to highly technical workstations. In this PBL model, we will be looking into Dework tool. Wrote an intro to and I get this work group going. And I like the fact that it's like, in the end, we now have something to change, something to present other than just documents and meetings. My past experience basically has been Miro board and meeting.
That's right. That's
and
right.
Then like having fun, like connecting. Oh, actually, Lacey's here. Cool.
Very nice. Of course, you can also you can embed Miro boards if you ever need to, but but yeah, this is I think this is going to be a really nice way to kind of share what we know so far, right? That's the whole point. At a certain point, there's one right way for a small group of people to onboard people. You've already established it. And then there's other things that are still experiments and works in progress, and we can handle those a different way, right?
Yep. So,
Cool.
well, thanks for joining. And I know you have few minutes left, so maybe perhaps you want to share something about Gimbalabs or to SingularityNet or anything that comes in mind. I'm seeing Carnival is happening.
Carnival is underway. It's a chance to build together. Yeah, that's going to be fun. No, I'm mostly focused on building out the strategy and even starting to draft a white paper for what we mean by this Andamio thing. So really kind of looking at some of the things we talked about here, onboarding, right? Sharing with people the background knowledge of what already exists, and then figuring out how do we best create space for people to contribute to work that still needs to be done, learn new things, right? There's R&D is everywhere right now because a lot of this has never been done before. There's new tools that we've never used before. And then from there, how do we use all these tools to create some kind of public record that people can use to validate against when it comes to decision making? And so yeah, just how do you get the best data about what people are doing together available in the same way that kind of the layer 1 blockchain results allow us to see a payment record, right? I think it's going to be exciting when we're all able to share in the human network, right? Hey, these people learned together, those people contributed over here, and that information can be just as valuable as who paid who when, right? And I think one connection we're seeing, anybody who's thinking about AI more than blockchain knows that, you know, the value of your machine learning or your generative AI is in the data that you put into it. If you put bad data in, you get bad results out, right?
Yeah.
And this human networks are the same thing, right? If I know that somebody vouching for Tevo I can trust them, right? That's great information. That helps us start working together faster. But if somebody says, "Hey, trust this guy," and it turns out to not be good advice, that didn't really help me that much.
I like the way that if all goes to blockchain, then we have that transparency to even have like, okay, I can risk with this thing and try to trust these new people I don't know. And then based on that first instinct, have that experience and like, I'm not
Right.
that expectation, but then those who trust your network will have that kind of insight. When do I want to take that risk if it's a critical one, or can I try my way of onboarding or kind of make connections?
Right. Well, remember, like, it's always worth going back. If we put it on blockchain, we can guarantee that somebody said it, but that doesn't mean they were telling the truth.
Yeah.
Right. So how do we make sure that that information that's going on chain is actually helpful and going to help, you know, people beyond where it's needed, right? In a small group, you don't need that to be on chain because you're already working together, you trust each other, right? But at a certain scale, there's always that need to gain trust efficiently. And that's the real question, right? Yes, we can say anything, we can put it permanently on chain so anybody can review it. How do we know that's good information that was there in the first place?
Yeah. Thanks for joining. And since you mentioned AI, then maybe I shout out to those who go into AGI 2023. I will be also going there in Stockholm. So it's going to be a 4 days event. So let's get wily and learn about what can AGI do for us.
Have fun. I can't wait to hear more.